I never thought moving in with a roommate could turn into the weirdest experience of my life. My name's Kayla, I'm 22, and this all started when I transferred to a new university for my final year. My previous roommate and I were total opposites, so I was actually excited to try living with someone new. When I found Olivia through a campus housing group, she seemed sweet, tidy, and chill. Her Instagram gave me good vibes, cute outfits, matcha lattes, minimal captions. Exactly my kind of girl. We messaged for about 2 weeks, and honestly, she seemed normal. I was relieved. When I moved in, Olivia greeted me at the door in a soft pink cardigan and fuzzy slippers, holding a tray of homemade cookies. Who does that anymore? It was straight out of Pinterest. I thought, wow, maybe I lucked out. For the first few weeks, everything was pretty smooth. We had similar routines, both liked skincare, liked to keep the apartment cozy with fairy lights and candles. Olivia always complimented me on my makeup, my handwriting, even the way I organized my closet. I won't lie, it felt nice. It's rare to meet another girl who doesn't make everything a competition. But after a while, I started noticing things that felt off. Not dramatic, just odd. For example, I wore a brown leather jacket one day to class, and 2 days later Olivia showed up in a nearly identical one, same cut, same color, but newer. I brushed it off. Brown's popular in fall, right? But then it happened again. I started wearing gold jewelry more often, and suddenly, so did she. Same chunky rings, same layered necklaces. I bought a Dior lip glow, and 2 days later, Olivia randomly mentioned how she just discovered it too. Maybe it was all coincidence. That's what I told myself. Until she started using the same shampoo as me, and I hadn't even mentioned what kind I used. That's when my stomach started turning. Something didn't feel right, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And then the journal incident happened. That's when things started spiraling. So about that journal incident. I keep a private notebook, nothing wild, just a blush pink moleskine where I jot down thoughts, things I'm grateful for, sometimes affirmations when I'm feeling anxious. I always kept it in my bedside drawer, buried under some old books. No one ever saw me writing in it. One rainy Sunday, I was home alone. I was sipping chai, scrolling Pinterest for room decor ideas when I noticed something weird. Olivia had posted a photo on her story, just a flat lay of her matcha and a book, but the book looked really familiar. Like, freakishly familiar. I zoomed in and my stomach dropped. It was my journal. That same pink moleskine with a tiny coffee stain on the top right corner. She had captioned it, "Journaling is so grounding," with a white heart emoji. At first I thought I was going crazy. Maybe she had the same one? But no. I went to my room. Opened the drawer. It was gone. She had it. She went into my drawer and took it. I don't even know how long it had been missing. I tried to breathe, tried to think rationally. Maybe she thought it was hers? But no, Olivia didn't journal. She literally told me she could never stick to it. My hands were shaking. I texted her, "Hey, random Q, did you borrow a pink notebook from my room?" She replied 20 minutes later, "OMG yes. I thought it was the one I bought from Target a while ago. Is it yours? So sorry." I wanted to believe her. Really, I did. But something in her tone felt fake, overly casual, like she was trying too hard to sound innocent. When she came home, she returned the journal like it was nothing. Smiled. Said, "You two have the same taste," and winked. I forced a laugh, but something inside me shifted. That night, I checked every page. Nothing was ripped, but I could tell someone had opened it. Some of the pages were slightly bent at the corners, ones that were flat before. She had read them. I felt exposed. Violated. I couldn't sleep that night. My thoughts were spiraling. What else had she seen? What else was she copying? Over the next week, I started paying more attention. And what I saw made my skin crawl. She began styling her hair the same way I did, loose low bun with 2 strands out front. Started doing her eyeliner like mine. Even bought the same claw clip I always wore. One morning I saw her putting on a white linen top, the same one I'd worn to brunch the weekend before. I know that sounds small, but it was the way she looked at me when she noticed I saw her. Like she was studying my reaction. Smiling like a test she knew she'd passed. Then she changed her phone case to a clear one with pressed flowers like mine, and downloaded the exact same digital planner I used. At this point, I knew something was seriously wrong. It wasn't admiration. It wasn't friendship. It was obsession. But when I tried to talk to her, to actually sit down and ask what was going on, she acted confused. "I just think you have great style," she said, twirling her hair. "Isn't that what friends do? Inspire each other." The word inspire sounded fake coming from her. I wanted to believe she meant it, but I didn't feel flattered. I felt like I was being mirrored, like I was living with someone who wanted to become me. And I had no idea how far she was willing to go. Things started to get darker after that. One morning, I got up early to shower before class. When I walked past Olivia's room, I noticed her door was slightly open. I never snoop, but something stopped me. Her mirror faced the hallway, and taped to the side of it were 3 Polaroids. I blinked. The first one was a picture of me at the beach from months ago, laughing in my black bikini, hair up in a messy bun. The second was of my desk, the exact way I decorate it, down to the mini candle and dried lavender. The third was of my outfit from last week, wide-leg jeans and my favorite oversized blazer. She must have taken it without me knowing. My stomach twisted. Why would she need those? I stepped back quietly, heart pounding. That day, I checked her Instagram. She had archived most of her old posts and started uploading new ones, all in my style. Same angles, similar captions, even the way I pose with my hand near my cheek. Someone DM'd me, "Wait, you and Olivia are like twinning lately, lol." I didn't answer. Because no, this didn't feel like twinning. This felt like erasure. And then it got worse. I applied for a summer internship at a boutique creative agency, one I'd been dreaming about for months. I hadn't told Olivia. Not because I was hiding it, but just. I wanted something that was mine. 2 weeks later, she casually mentioned over dinner, "Oh, by the way, I applied to this internship too, not sure if I'll get it, but it sounds cool." I froze. "Which one?" I asked. She said the name. "The same one." I forced a smile and said, "Oh cool," but inside I was burning. I had told no one. The only place I'd written about it was in my journal. The journal she read. I wanted to scream. That night, I cried in the shower. Not just because of the internship, but because I didn't feel safe in my own space anymore. Living with someone who wanted to be me, not just borrow a sweater or copy a cute idea, but really be me, it made my skin crawl. I started locking my door when I wasn't home. Changed the password on my laptop. Hid my journal in my laundry basket. I became someone I didn't recognize, paranoid, tense, constantly second-guessing every word I said around her. And Olivia? She acted like nothing was wrong. She still smiled. Still complimented my outfits. Still watched me carefully like I was a Pinterest board that lived and breathed. I didn't know how to confront her without sounding crazy. I even started gaslighting myself. Maybe I was overreacting? Maybe this was just a phase? But one night, everything broke, and there was no denying it anymore. It was around midnight when I came home from a late study session at the library. The apartment was quiet, the lights dimmed, only the soft glow of Olivia's lamp spilled into the hallway. I didn't plan to interact. I just wanted to drop my bag, wash my face, and disappear into my bed. But as I walked into my room, I froze. My vanity was different. Nothing major, but off. My perfume bottles weren't where I left them. One was turned exactly 90 degrees. My hairbrush had a strand of hair longer than mine, a different shade. I walked in slowly, scanning. My drawer, the one I kept locked with the tiny key taped under my desk, was slightly ajar. I reached to open it. My journal, gone. I felt the blood rush to my ears. I backed out, heart racing, and knocked on Olivia's door. No answer. I knocked again. "Hey, Olivia? You up?" Still nothing. I turned the knob. It wasn't locked. Inside, she was sitting on her bed, legs crossed, headphones in, staring at her laptop. She jumped when she saw me. Slammed it shut. "Oh hey. Didn't hear you," she said too cheerily. My eyes darted to her nightstand. My journal. Sitting there, bold as daylight. I stared at it. "You have my journal," I said quietly. She followed my eyes. There was a long pause. Then she gave a weird little laugh. "Oh my God, I meant to tell you, I found it under the couch. I thought it was mine." "You thought it was yours?" I said, not even hiding the disbelief. "You know it's not yours, Olivia." She shrugged, then stood up and handed it to me. I didn't read it or anything. A bold-faced lie. My hands were shaking. I took it and walked back to my room without a word. I locked the door, sat on the floor, flipped through the journal. Pages were dog-eared. My handwriting had been underlined. She'd written little pencil notes in the margins. Like she was studying me. I couldn't sleep that night. I couldn't breathe properly. I emailed my RA, asking if there was any chance to switch dorms. The next morning, Olivia acted like nothing happened. She brought me coffee. She even said, "Hope I didn't freak you out last night." I just said thanks and avoided eye contact. I had 2 weeks left of the semester. 2 weeks of tiptoeing around someone who had tried to become me. That weekend, I went home. I needed space. My mom could tell something was wrong, but I didn't explain, not then. But when I came back Sunday night, I walked into something that sent shivers down my spine. My entire room had been rearranged. Exactly the way it looked in the vision board in my journal. New throw pillows. New faux fur rug. My string lights, but doubled. Olivia had decorated her side of the dorm into a mirror image of mine. She even had a fake version of my favorite tote bag hanging on her chair. That was the night I knew this wasn't admiration. This was obsession. I stood in the doorway, frozen. Olivia was in the kitchen, humming. She turned and smiled like we were best friends about to watch a movie together. "I thought I'd surprise you. I redecorated while you were away." "You always have the best taste," she said, like she hadn't just recreated my entire identity in her half of the room. My throat was dry. I didn't answer. I just walked past her and into my side, locking myself in the bathroom. I needed to breathe, to think, to not panic. Was I imagining this? Was I overreacting? But my gut was screaming, this isn't normal. Not even close. Over the next few days, I tried to avoid her. I spent longer hours on campus, ate in the student union alone, wore my headphones constantly. But Olivia didn't back off. If anything, she doubled down. I'd change my nail polish, and the next day, hers matched. I started wearing my hair up in a claw clip suddenly, so did she. I mentioned once in passing that I was thinking of applying for a spring internship at this local PR firm downtown. The next morning, she printed an application form and casually said, "We should apply together. Wouldn't it be fun if we worked there together?" The word "together" kept ringing in my ears like a threat. Then it got worse. She started using phrases from my texts, my inside jokes, with my actual friends. My best friend, Ruby, even messaged me once, "Hey, did you tell Olivia about that thing with Max?" She just brought it up like it was her story. That was the moment I finally told Ruby everything. I needed someone else to confirm that I wasn't losing it. Ruby came over the next day under the pretense of helping me with a project. Olivia greeted her with a wide smile, too wide, and said, "Oh, so nice to finally meet you. I feel like I already know you." Ruby gave me a look. We spent the evening in my room with the door closed. I showed her the journal, the copied outfits, the photos on Olivia's Pinterest that mirrored mine. She listened without interrupting. Then she said, "This isn't a coincidence. This girl is trying to be you." That night, we made a plan. I wasn't going to confront Olivia. She clearly had her own version of reality. But I would start documenting everything. Every weird thing. Every mimicked outfit. Every copied message. I needed proof, because something inside me was whispering that this wasn't going to stop. And I was right. Because 2 nights later, I came home late again and found Olivia sitting at my desk. In my hoodie. Typing on my laptop. She didn't even flinch when I opened the door. Just turned to me with a soft, eerily calm smile and said, "I was just finishing your paper for Psych 304. You always leave it so late." My blood turned cold. That wasn't just my hoodie, it was my password-protected laptop. She had guessed it? Or had she been watching me type it in all along? I forced a breath, trying to stay calm. "Olivia, that's my computer," I said. She shrugged. "You always share your ideas with me anyway." I didn't argue. I didn't even raise my voice. I just quietly said, "Please don't touch my stuff again," and took the laptop back. She left the room wordlessly. I locked my laptop. I changed all my passwords. But sleep that night was impossible. I could feel her presence, just on the other side of the room divider. The silence wasn't peaceful, it was waiting. The next morning, she was cheerful again. Almost aggressively cheerful. "I made us matcha lattes. Yours is extra sweet, just like you like it." I didn't touch the drink. I told Ruby everything. That night, she helped me buy a mini camera online. I know it sounds paranoid, but I needed proof. Evidence. Because the situation wasn't just weird anymore. It felt dangerous. That weekend, I went home to visit my family. Just 2 nights. I told Olivia last minute, hoping she wouldn't follow. She didn't. But when I came back, something was off. I had left my favorite perfume sealed in a drawer. Now it was on the windowsill, half empty. My journal had been moved. There was a faint shimmer of my lip gloss on her desk. I reviewed the mini camera footage with Ruby later that night. What we saw made my skin crawl. Olivia had spent almost 2 hours on my side of the room, trying on my clothes, writing in her own journal while holding mine open, putting on my necklace and posing in the mirror. She wasn't stealing things. She was copying moments, behaviors, habits. I felt sick. I needed to get out. I booked a meeting with my RA the next morning, but Olivia beat me to it. Because that night, she handed me a gift bag. "Just a little something," she said, eyes shining. "To thank you for inspiring me." Inside was a silver locket. The exact same one I'd gotten from my grandma, the one I never took off. My heart dropped. Because when I checked, mine was gone. I just stared at her. At the locket in the box. At her face, expectant, proud, like she'd done something thoughtful. "Where did you get this?" I asked slowly, already knowing the answer. She tilted her head. "It's yours. I mean, it looked so good on you, I figured you'd want another one. So I borrowed it. Just for a bit." Borrowed? I didn't even know it was missing. She had taken it right off my nightstand. I didn't even argue. I just took it back with a shaking hand, said thank you through gritted teeth, and left the room. I spent the whole night in Ruby's dorm. We rewatched the footage again. It was even worse than I remembered. The way Olivia would mimic my gestures in the mirror, practice my laugh, even hold up 2 outfits and mumble to herself, which one would she wear today? The next morning, I went straight to the resident advisor. I showed her the footage. Her face said everything. "This is deeply concerning," she muttered. "You've done the right thing telling us." She promised to escalate the situation. But of course, there's a process. Meetings. Reports. "Give it a few days," she said gently. Try not to antagonize her in the meantime. But how could I not feel on edge? When I got back to the room, Olivia wasn't there. But her laptop was open. And on the screen, a document titled her. I know I shouldn't have, but I clicked. What I found made my stomach twist. Pages and pages of typed notes. About me. My schedule. My likes, dislikes, words I used often, how I did my makeup, what I ordered at cafes, which professors I got along with. Even observations like, "She's more confident when she wears her hair up, do that more often." It wasn't admiration anymore. It was obsession. When she walked in and saw me at her computer, her expression darkened. But she didn't yell. Didn't flinch. She just closed the door behind her, slowly, and said, "You weren't supposed to see that yet." "Yet?" I echoed, my voice breaking. She stepped closer. "You think you're so unique. But you're just the better version of who I'm supposed to be. You fit. You're loved." I was just catching up. I backed away, grabbed my phone, called campus security right in front of her. She didn't even try to stop me. Just sat down on her bed, crossed her legs, and smiled. "It's okay," she said softly. "I already know what happens next." Security came within 15 minutes. I waited outside the dorm with Ruby, who refused to leave my side. When the officers entered the room, Olivia didn't resist. She stood up calmly, as if this had all been scheduled. Like she knew every step before it happened. I don't even know what she told them, but they escorted her out quietly. The RA said she'd be placed on an emergency psychological hold and would not be returning to campus for the foreseeable future. They offered me a room change, even a counseling session, but honestly, I was just relieved to sleep without looking over my shoulder. The next few days were a blur. I caught up on classes, avoided people, tried to rebuild the space in my head where my identity used to feel safe. But weird things kept happening. One night, I found a bouquet outside my new door. No card. Just daisies, my favorite. The next morning, I received an anonymous email. No text. Just a photo of me sitting in the library the day before, from behind. I hadn't posted that. No one had. I reported it to campus security. They told me Olivia had been transferred to an off-campus facility and had no access to the internet or visitors. It's probably just someone playing a prank, they said. But it didn't feel like a prank. It felt like surveillance. Like someone still wanted to be me or watch me fall apart. I locked down my social media. I stopped wearing my favorite outfits. I even stopped going to my usual cafe. But the more I tried to disappear, the more the shadows followed. A week later, Ruby found a Pinterest profile using my full name. It was filled with boards titled My Future Aesthetic, My Bedroom Vibes, My Face. Every pin was either something from my life or something I'd only ever thought about doing. My dream trip to Lisbon. That lavender laptop case I almost bought. A white maxi dress I'd saved once in an abandoned cart. It was like someone had crawled inside my mind and started decorating. Ruby flagged the account. I emailed Pinterest to have it removed. But I couldn't help thinking, what if it wasn't Olivia? What if this identity theft had taken on a life of its own? People say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. But when the lines blur between who you are and who someone wants you to be, it stops being flattery. It becomes something else. Something dangerous. Summer break finally came, and I went back home, hoping the distance would reset everything. For a while, it did. My parents didn't ask too many questions. I dyed my hair, deleted old accounts, even started journaling again, not digitally, just pen and paper. Something about that felt safer. Like I was reclaiming myself without an audience. But the peace didn't last. One morning in July, I got a letter. No return address. Inside was a folded piece of notebook paper. On it was my handwriting, or what looked exactly like it. The same loops on my Ys. The same little hearts above my eyes. And the note just said, I miss being you. That was it. No name. No signature. I was frozen. My hands actually shook holding it. I knew Olivia was still in treatment. I'd checked. But the thought that someone else, anyone else, had studied me closely enough to replicate my writing made my skin crawl. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell Ruby. I just threw it out and pretended it never arrived. But after that, I stopped writing in journals, too. I started to second-guess every choice I made, not out of fear, but out of exhaustion. Like, what if even my healing was being copied? What if I was still part of someone else's story, someone else's fantasy? I started therapy again. Real therapy. My therapist called it identity boundary trauma, when your sense of self is intruded upon so repeatedly that you stop recognizing where you end and the outside world begins. She said I had to build new boundaries. Emotional ones. Rituals. Anchors. She helped me find new ways to exist that didn't rely on external validation. Slowly, I started to reassemble my confidence. Not all at once, but in little choices. A new major. A new aesthetic. Saying no to things I didn't like. Saying yes to things I wasn't sure I deserved yet. And it worked, for a while. Until last week. I was walking back from class when I passed by a girl sitting alone on the lawn. She was reading my favorite book. Wearing my old jacket, the one I donated months ago. Her hair was cut like mine used to be. She looked up and smiled at me. Not a creepy smile, just a warm, familiar one. And something inside me sank. I don't know if it was Olivia. I don't know if it was someone new. But I realized something that day. Maybe I'll never fully escape the idea of being copied. Maybe being interesting, being visible, being a girl in the world, just means people will want pieces of you. I can't control that. But what I can control is me. My reactions. My truth. My growth. So I keep going. I keep becoming someone new, someone no one else has the blueprint for. Because maybe that's the best way to stay uncopyable. Not to hide, but to evolve so fast they can't keep up.